I think that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Someone could argue, you could have a family name. He could take your last name. I don't want him to. He's not going to take my dad's last name.
It's the consumerism, it's the overconsumption, it's the capitalism.
I brought this guy who was such an asshole and so annoying. Let's call a spade a spade. You guys are giving crap. Like, stop with the crap. Who fucking cares? Like, there's a million other guys out there, and he's not your guy, clearly.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am your host, Neeki. I am the baddest bitch in the building, not to be confused with you, who is also the baddest bitch in the building, and not to be confused with Victoria, who is a bride, the baddest bride in the building. Victoria, hello.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. This is my kind of space. I'm Victoria. Yes, I am said bride. I am the host of For the Girls podcast. I'm a content creator. I'm a confidence coach. I do a few different things, online. I've been building a community for a decade now, and it has all led me to the baddest bitch in the building podcast. So here we are.
Here we are. I love that. Wait, this is totally unrelated to anything we're going to talk about, but what would you say is like the main thing that holds a lot of women back from being like their full confident selves?
Yeah, people think that they have to be confident first before they do the thing. But my saying that I've always just like preaching for years is that confidence is a byproduct of action. So you don't get confident and then take action. You take action and then you get confident. So like people are afraid of taking messy action. People are afraid of doing the thing. People are afraid of failing because they think like, no, once I get confident, once I like feel right, once it's the right time, once I'm in the right headspace, then I'll do it. Then that's why nothing ever gets done. That's why people have dreams that never are realized, that never fulfilled, because they wait for the confidence just to appear, and that really doesn't happen. I mean, sure, one can argue like as you mature you just become more confident in who you are, but at the end of the day we are who we are. So if you've always been the person who's like waiting for this big aha moment, then you're always going to wait for it before you take action. So I think the key is to becoming your most confident self. Just doing the thing, failing, messing up. I'm a big advocate for taking messy action. I'm a big advocate for being cringe and embarrassing yourself and just like whatever, being delusional and posting and whatever it might look like, doing the things that are, like living rent free in your head and just fucking up a few times. And then you're like, oh, that was it. Like, I could do that. It's like going on a roller coaster. You see it, you're scared of it, you go on it, you're like, oh shit, I survived it. Okay, I could do it again. So I feel like that is how people actually unlock true confidence, is by kind of like jumping into the deep end first.
Period. I love that. And I am the most delusional person I know, so this resonates with me because I am always in Delululand.
It's how you get where you want to go. Like, you have to just believe it, that it belongs to you.
We have an episode for you guys based on wedding prep and stepping into the shoes of the bride. And I feel like a lot of you are probably already in this era of your lives because a lot of the girlies who listen are in their 20s and 30s. And this episode was actually inspired by two of my friends who are getting married, and I'm their bridesmaids. So I'm like, this is going to be perfect. So what I want us to focus on today is basically, Victoria, you're planning a wedding. You're doing it in a pretty quick timeline, like relatively speaking. And I think you have a lot of interesting insight to share with the girls who might just get a different perspective on a lot of things, because I feel like we're fed a lot of stuff about wedding and what it's like to be a bride. And I want to unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I want to start by giving you 5 beliefs about weddings, and I want to get your thought. Is this truth, myth, or manipulation?
Okay.
So first one is, your wedding day is the happiest day of your life.
I think that it could be true. I think for other people it could not be true. I'm anticipating it being it, but then it's also like, but then they say once you have kids it's the best day of your life. So I think it could be true. I think that depends.
Okay, that's fair. So could be true, could be myth. Next one, you need at least a year to plan a proper wedding.
No, that's both myth and manipulation if you could put those two together.
Totally. It's from Big Wedding, capital B, capital
Yeah.
W. Next one, it's okay to go into debt because you'll only do this once.
That's true manipulation. Like that's just who said that? Vendors, catering halls. Who gave me that advice?
Big Wedding. Next one, the wedding is for the bride, the marriage is for the couple.
I'm gonna say true. I will say that there's always exceptions to the rule. Like I think that my fiance thinks like the wedding is also about him, and I entertain the thought a little bit, but like he doesn't even know who like our vendors are. Like he no he so it is my day, but I'm also entertaining the thought that it's his day too because he likes to pretend that it is. And then yes, of course, the marriage is for the both of us.
The wedding is for the girls.
Yeah, it is like they has anyone ever said like this groom has dreamed of this since he's a little boy? No, they say this girl, the bride, has dreamed about it since she's a little girl.
No, totally true. But I also then wonder, I mean, I'm asking you the questions and now I'm answering it for myself. I also wonder like how much of that is trying to offload all the responsibility onto the bride so that it just like all the labor that goes into the planning becomes it's on the bride's shoulders. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, but I think that most brides, speaking at least for myself, would rather. I would 100% rather take on that workload than let my fiance plan our wedding. Like, yeah, okay. No, not a chance.
No, imagine what the centerpieces would be like if the man planned the
Yeah,
wedding.
like no, so no, no, no.
Okay, last one. The couple must spend the night apart before the wedding.
Traditionally speaking, if they're not living together already, like my fiance and I moved in together once we got engaged. We live together. We're not going to spend the night apart, before. So like no. I think that if we decided to wait to live together until marriage, like yeah, then like we wouldn't have a sleepover before the wedding. So I think that there's truth to that if you are having a much more traditional wedding. Some people live together since they're boyfriend and girlfriend. They don't even wait till some people are really rapid speed ahead. So like in that case, what you're the night before the wedding, you're not going to sleep together. So true for that people who are super traditional. I think that that's a great thing there, a little tradition. But if you're already living together, doesn't matter. No, I don't think so.
I had a feeling you were going to say that because I know you've posted like a TikTok about not living, how you chose not to
Yeah.
live with your man until you were engaged. I have, when I saw that, I felt so validated because I have the exact same belief. I actually think I would be a little bit more extreme than that. Like, I don't believe in living together until you're married.
Yeah, and that like I always was like kind of I was raised that way. So like my parents, my girl, like no one lived together until they got married. But I'm also older than like my parents were. I mean, my grandparents got married at 19. My parents got married in the 20s. So it's like I don't know. I'm 30 now, so I just feel like all right, I'm ready. Let's get a move on. I have the ring, so it's okay.
Yeah, you had to like, it wasn't beyond your pay grade, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. Cool. Actually, I have a bonus one. I have a sixth wedding belief, which is you need to have a bridal party and everyone in the party has to match.
So I guess one can say true because I would say most people do that, right? Like that's like what almost every bride ever to exist does. But I will say absolute myth. I'm not having a bridal party. I did ask my two cousins to be my matron and maid of honor, which to be honest, I also didn't even really care to have a maid of honor because so my cousin who's my matron, the one who's married, she got married years ago. They're sisters. Of course, her sister was her maid of honor. Like why would I be her maid of honor? She has a sister. So, however many years ago when she got married, her sister was her maid of honor. So, and for me, every single one of my girlfriends has a sister. So I always was like, I'll never be picked as someone's maid of honor because all my best friends and my first cousins all have a sister. So I always was kind of like, I really don't care. My fiance has a brother, so he always knew that his brother was going to be his best man. So I was like, okay, I definitely don't want to do a bridal party just because honestly, like I don't even want to have that kind of mourning. I don't want to have five, 6, 7 people getting ready with me in the morning, and it's busy and chaotic, and like I just didn't. I don't know. I didn't want that. I don't want a million people walking down the aisle. Like to me, also being a bridesmaid is like taking on a whole other financial responsibility. I'm a bridesmaid for others, so like I know that the stressors that come with that, and I just like I never wanted that. I never wanted anyone to do that for me. So I said, okay, I'm just going to ask both of my cousins because they're the closest things that I'll ever have to sisters. I'll have them as my maid and my matron, and that's perfectly fine. And like, that's that. I'm getting ready in the morning with them, my mom and my grandma. And I'm like, and I also like, I'm not picking their dresses, like they're picking whatever dress they want. Right before they're actually, my phone's on do not disturb, but I probably have 20 texts right now because they, right before we started, they were sending links of dresses. We were just talking about it. So it's like, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, yes, I have an aesthetic I want. I want them to wear black. I actually am we could have like a whole other conversation about that, but I'm having a dress code entirely for the wedding just because like I very much care about aesthetics. But like, so things like that, sure. But not picking dresses and not having duties and, tons of people in the morning and throughout and whatever. Like it was never what I wanted ever, like since before I even met my fiance.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, I'm not engaged. I've never been married, but in my mind, like I've never wanted bridesmaids either. I just, when I see bridal parties of like 9, 10 girls, I'm like, I don't have 10 close friends. And if I had 10 bridesmaids, like I feel like half of them will be giving me evil eye and praying on my downfall. Like,
No, listen, I have like the best, my group of best friends, like we're best friends since high school. There's only 5 of us. So it's not like a ton, but then like I also have best friends that I met later on in life. So it's like, what do you do then? Like, just because I only knew them the longest, I only asked them? No, I also have best friends that I met in my 20s. Like, so I don't know. Honestly, never cared for it, never wanted it. It'll make my life easier. It'll make their day easier. And like, I don't think that that makes us any less, close. Like, my best friend, who I was just her bridesmaid in March, she's not, I'm not a bridesmaid. She's not my bridesmaid. And like, she doesn't, it's not even a thought.
yeah, I feel like there's so much, like such a fine dance a lot of people have to do when they're planning a wedding. It's like, oh, am I going to offend somebody? Am I going to have to reciprocate
Right.
this? And I feel like it's just, I know you have a lot of thoughts on reciprocating invites and plus one. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I, for one, don't believe that, like, when it comes to weddings, that anything is owed to anybody and that reciprocation is a must because, like, first of all, every single person has a completely different vision for their wedding. Some people have big weddings. I've gone to 500-person weddings. Some people have small weddings. I've gone to 50 people weddings. So, like, let's say that those two people were friends and one had, 500 people and one had 50. Just because she was invited to the 500-person wedding doesn't mean she has to now invite that person to her 50-person wedding. You know what I mean? Like, so no matter what, off the bat, no one has a leg to stand on when it comes to like, oh, but I invited you. Like, just because you invited them, like, that's what you wanted to do. That doesn't mean that they have to do that because you wanted to do that. They want to do something different. So even as far as like it reciprocating, just because you invited me, I have to invite you. No. And then also as far as like the whole plus one thing, I believe, listen, there are people who just got it like that, and they could invite two for every one person that they want to invite. And then there are people who absolutely do not have it like that, and they can only invite the person they know, and they can't give that person the opportunity to just bring whoever their flavor of the week is. Like, so there's those two opposite ends of the spectrum where there are people who will give every single person a guest, and then there are people who will absolutely not. And sometimes I think that people are wrong for that because I think that there are people who are sometimes in a relationship and someone like kind of disrespects that and it's just like, oh well, like it's my party, so I don't have to invite you if I don't want to. Like, well, then also that person probably won't come because like that's just not really right. So like I think that there's two extreme ends, but then I also think that there's a middle ground, which is where I fall. My belief is anyone who's like actually in a relationship, we're talking a serious adult relationship, like they're not getting a plus one. That person is invited with them. Like they're both of their names are on the invitation. It would be Victoria Alario and or like whatever it is, like Mr. and Mrs. Like their names are going together on the invitation. You and your partner are invited as a couple to the party, okay? Point blank. Then there are the people who are not, okay? There's the single people. Now, in my opinion, if someone is single and friends with everybody or knows everybody, like they don't even have to be best friends with everybody, but they're not walking into a sea of complete strangers. They know people around, they have people they could sit with that, they know. I don't think that that person has to get a plus one because you're an adult and you should be able to socialize. You should be able to spend the night. Like, this isn't meant to be like your date night. So it's like, you don't have to just like bring the guy you just met a week ago that you really like, who's like probably not going to be in the picture. Um, if that single friend is traveling out of state, doesn't know anybody, you're putting them at a table where it's like, you don't really like, you're just kind of throwing them in there. I do think that it's common courtesy to give that person a plus one because they could bring, yes, they could bring someone that they're dating or they could bring a friend, like whatever the case is. If you know that someone, like, you really want them to come to your wedding, but it might be a little uncomfortable for them, they might be a little out of place, I do think that it's the right thing to give them a plus one. Do I think that, like, I don't think that weddings are, a free for all where it's like, yeah, just bring whoever. Like, I don't care. Just like bring somebody. No. But then I also feel like sometimes people take advantage and they're like, oh, but like, I'm not friends with everybody. Okay. Like, mingle, make friends, like, this is a social gathering, be social, like whatever the case is. So I think that there's circumstances. I think that it depends. I think there are some single people who should get a plus one, but that does not mean that every single person needs to get a plus one.
So is that how you're going about it with your own guests? Like you're sort of looking at obviously who's in a serious relationship versus like who are your single guests who don't know anybody there, and then are you like reaching out to those people and texting them and being like, do you want somebody to come with you?
So what I did was I did an address collector. And so instead of texting everybody and asking them for their address and asking them, questions like that, do you want to bring somebody? I just straight up sent everybody this address collector. And on the address collector, there is a slot for you to put the person's name, your guest name. So it's like your first name, your last name, your guest's first name, their last name. So every single person who left it blank doesn't have somebody to bring. So like those people are not getting, because they just don't, they don't need anybody, they don't have anybody. And for me, for my guests, I will also say, like, everybody knows everybody. I'm not inviting a ton of people, I'm inviting people who know each other. So all of my friends are at least familiar, at the very least, with each other. Everyone's familiar. And then my fiance doesn't have actually any single friends. Every single one of his friends are married. So like, it actually wasn't a huge thing for, like, we didn't really have to go that extra mile and figure out who do we do and who do we not, because like, under our circumstances, it's either everyone's married or everyone at least knows each other, because we're not having every single person that we've ever met come to our wedding. But what I will say is, one time, listen, I was single throughout all my 20s. Before meeting my fiance, I never even had a boyfriend. So I was never given a plus one. I was always invited to weddings by myself. Sometimes it was cool, sometimes it kind of sucked, but like, it was what it was. These were my friends and I was going to show up for their wedding. And I'm just not the type of person to complain or like feel entitled or put expectations on people. With that being said, there was one time ever where I did get a courtesy text from a girlfriend who was getting married, and she texted me and said, listen, I'm not giving plus ones to anybody who's not like in a serious relationship. However, I also know that you don't know anybody. I know that you don't know any friends of mine. I know that you're sitting at a table with people that you don't know. Do you want to bring somebody? So she asked me, and I did take her up on that offer. I kind of ended up regretting it, honestly, because she truly did not give anybody plus ones, and there were all single guys at the wedding. And I brought this guy who was such an asshole and so annoying. And I'm like, why did I bring this guy? I could have met five guys. I could have left this wedding with 20 phone numbers. Like, there was at least 100 single guys there. So I was like, damn, I should have like really vetted, this question before I said yes. But I took it into consideration. I'm like, true, I don't know anyone. I'm going to sit alone. Like, that's a little awkward, So I thought that was nice. And I think that under those circumstances, yeah, like if you know that someone's coming and it might be a little uncomfortable, I think that it's nice to offer.
Sitting at a table with strangers is hard. Like I've done this
Right.
at like conferences and professional events. I think the vibe is a little bit different, but I feel like it's still a little bit the same. Like I don't, and you're all done up and you're like, you want to
And everyone
celebrate
else
your
at the table knows
friend.
each other. So then they're looking at you like, so
Yeah.
what do you do? I'm like, let's not even fucking play this game right now.
It seems like you're very like systematized and organized in the way that you are planning your wedding. And I know that like you mentioned this to me earlier that you're planning everything in what is it, 7 months, like from the time you got engaged to the wedding date?
No, no, no. We got engaged in December. We did not book our wedding till February because throughout those 2 months, we traveled, we moved. It was my birthday, my 30th. So like my this all January, we were away from. Okay, we got engaged. Let's put it this way: the week before Christmas. So then it was like the week of Christmas. Then we went away for 2 weeks directly following Christmas for New Year. So we came back the beginning of January. Then after that, we moved. Then after that was my 30th birthday. So like we had all of that happening like directly after getting engaged. So then in February is when, so technically like 2 months after we got engaged is when we actually booked the wedding. Just because when we weren't going to be able to tour anything. So we did all that in February. We booked that. And then we booked the wedding 7 months from out. So 7 months from when we booked the wedding. Like the in February, we booked a wedding for 7 months out, but not 7 months from being engaged, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So I
So
guess it will be
technically
like
9 months, I guess, from being engaged, 7 months from like when we booked it.
okay. So under a year, which I think is pretty unconventional, quote
Yeah.
unquote, because everybody takes, I feel like, a year to a year and a half. How do people react when you tell them that? Not that their opinion matters, but I feel like that tells a lot about how we're like conditioned to think about these things.
I mean, yeah. Well, it goes honestly both ways because there are some people who are like, "Oh my god, how are you doing it so fast? Holy shit, I can't believe how fast, blah blah blah." But then there are other people who like me will be like, "Well, there's no point waiting. Like what's the point? Like if you guys want to get married, if the place you want to get married is available, do it. Like why wait?" So like I do think that it goes both ways. I think yeah, the people who are shocked are just so used to seeing 1, 2, 3 year long engagements and not so many under 1 year engagements.
Again, big wedding comes into this. The longer you have to plan a wedding, the more you're able to spend money and like get book things that you don't need and all that. So I feel like getting it over with is the best way to do it. But are you able to book some stuff under a year in advance, like your venue, for example?
Yeah, so listen, if a venue, a vendor, if anything is available, these people are ready. Like they're book me, book me, book me. So like anything that has the date open wants to be booked. There's really never going to be a policy of like, oh, this is too short notice. The only thing that we had a little not to say trouble, but just a bit of a harder time with would be our church because we are getting married in a church and the church typically prefers that year because they do. So we're getting married, we're Catholic, we're getting married in the Catholic church. So the Catholic church does marriage preparation with you. There's like these sessions, marriage prep sessions called pre-cana, a few different things that you have to do with the priest who will be marrying you. And so for the most part, they like to give you that year to do all of that. So for us to be doing it within, we're really doing it within 6-ish months is actually cutting it in half. So they were like, okay, so we're going to have to do everything really fast. So we have those courses and stuff coming up. And yeah, like that was the only thing. But like, again, like they'll do it. It's really like, it's a very rare chance where a place, anything will be like, sorry, like I'm available that day, but you're within a year, so we can't. Like I've never heard of that happening. So don't let anybody, because I know that brides will be like, they're gonna be there. You use the word manipulation. There's gonna be a lot of manipulation in your wedding situation. So like a lot of places are gonna kind of rush you, make you feel like you're behind. And so yeah, I mean, listen, everybody did it to me, yet I booked every single thing within 2 weeks. From the day that we booked our wedding, by 2 weeks later, I had every single vendor booked. Hair, makeup, DJ, every single possible thing booked within 2 weeks. So, it's possible.
It's possible, ladies. Wait, but that's insane. 2 weeks. Did you just have like a 2 weeks of being a gremlin where you just stayed home and like
Yeah.
booked everything? And
Yeah.
so was that like a super
Ass
like
to
high
chair.
stress? Okay.
I wouldn't say it was high. Listen, I didn't find it stressful. Everyone's like, oh, how's wedding planning going? Like, super stressful, right? I'm like, no. Like, I spent 2 weeks just like drilled to my computer. The most stressful thing was like only if anybody was not available, because yes, when you do book something 7 months out, like there are going to be people who are not available. However, what I will say is I did not have like my heart super, super, super set on one hair person, one makeup person, one DJ. Like there's so many talented people out there. So I had like lists of tons of options. So that was the only thing was like, yeah, I just email blasted all these people. Sure, a lot of people got back that they were not available. And then I booked who was. And it's not like, oh, I just booked, plan Z. No, I only reached out to very talented and good people. Like I only reached out to who I knew was good. So like don't even bother reaching out to people that you don't want to use to have. If you hear bad reviews or if you hear mixed reviews, if you're not sure, don't even waste your time. So like I really didn't stress myself out because I didn't waste much time. I just like went for what I wanted. Whatever didn't work out, didn't work out. And then whatever was meant to be happened. And so I just kind of like, yeah, sure, I was glued to the computer, but like, I don't know, like, is it that serious? Like, I don't know. Like when people are like, it's so stressful in my life, I'm like, is it? I don't know. I couldn't relate to that.
I mean, obviously you're a very confident person, your confidence coach. But how do you feel like the confidence work and that like mindset that you have helped you with this? Because when I hear you talk about this, you seem very self-assured. You're the type of person who like you know what you want and you'll go after what you want. And I feel like those are really good qualities in somebody who's planning a giant party like this, especially when you have to maybe compromise on stuff when someone's like, oh, I'm not available or blah blah blah. What could you tell maybe the girls who are less confident, less skilled at setting boundaries, hearing no, getting like going after the things they want? How can they take some of those confidence teachings that you do and apply that to their wedding planning?
Well, it's just like everything else in life. I think that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So I think the way that I have been with the wedding planning is essentially who I am as a person, and it's how I handle everything. You're going to be told no in business, you're going to be told no, in sales, you're going to be told no in all different things, like, and what are you going to do? Like throw a temper tantrum over it? No, you have to learn how to adapt to that. So like think about the way that you handle high pressure or high stress or last minute rushing around. Like think about how you handle that if you're on a deadline at work, if you're pitching yourself for a brand deal, if you're pitching yourself for something and like whatever the case is, think about how you handle all of those things and then like apply it here, unless that it's a bad way that you handle it. Like however you handle things that works in your favor, apply it here. For me, like I just have always had the belief that like everything I want wants me back. Whatever is meant for me will find me. Obviously, everyone's always says I don't chase, I attract, and blah blah blah. Okay, so don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. When something doesn't work out, don't lose your shit over it. Like let it be. Um, and this is also just like a tangible, more specific niche bridal thing rather than like a confidence thing. But there are people, honest to God, who book their venue, like book their wedding date, I should say, around the vendors that they are super adamant on. I will only work with this DJ. I will only work with this hairstylist. I will only work with this, florist, whatever, if you will only work with those certain vendors, then you reach out to them first. You get their availability. You link up all of their availability, then you book your wedding venue. Then you book your date, because if the venue could be this or that, but like you'll have a hissy fit if you don't get this exact band, then you have to work that way. So like just to be as tangible and like logical as possible, flip it around. Don't book your date and venue first. Reach out to them first and get their availability before. So like that will help with the stress. But be a problem solver. Like for me, like that is a big confidence thing, being a problem solver. So whether it's a mindset tip or a tangible thing, like my answer is always just like, okay, if I'm faced with a problem, how am I going to solve it? I'm not going to sit and sulk in a problem. I'm going to come up with a solution to said problem. So I think that is a big way of boosting confidence, or just like your self-esteem, and just like feeling like a human being who can get shit done, and not feeling like I'm a failure or things never work out for me. Like I've never once in my life sat in a victim mentality. I am like anti-victim mentality, anti things never work out for me. Like, no, the things that aren't working out for you are working out for you because they're lining it up on purpose. They're lining up what is meant to work out for you. So, whatever the case is, solve your problems. Keep doing more research. Just stop thinking like woe is me, and start thinking like, okay, what a privilege for me to even be planning a wedding. What a privilege for me to even be stressed out over something like a party, because at the end of the day, that's what it is, a party. So if that's like the bane of your existence and the most stressful thing that you have to deal with right now, like sounds like life's going pretty good for you.
That's so true. I call it the victim Olympics because some people want to win a gold medal in the victim Olympics because they're so like, woe is me. And I feel like what I'm getting from this is planning a wedding or planning any event that's this, I guess, at this caliber can bring out the worst traits in
Oh
you
yeah.
or the best traits in you. And then that can help you plan your party
Yeah.
or hold you back. Okay, this gave me an idea. So I have something here. This bridal magazine, I found this in my parents' basement. It's from 1995. I
Oh
found
my
it.
god, I'm born in 1995.
Oh my God.
Does it say the month, or does it just
January,
say
February.
I'm February 1995?
Wait, I found this by accident. I was looking for a book. My parents have this little library in their basement, and I found this magazine, and I'm like, wait, I'm doing this episode with Victoria. I'm going to flip through this magazine that was released in your birth month and figure
This is
out,
crazy.
like, it's crazy. So I looked through this magazine. It's actually crazy. It's all very bride centric. So it's all ads for like wedding dresses. It's articles to do with like the bride herself, and all the ads are for like either wedding dresses or homeware because I don't think a lot of people maybe lived together before they got
Yeah, yeah,
married at
yeah.
that time.
That was like how people started to do their registry, and it was always like homeware.
Yeah, yeah. I After I saw this that same day, I'm like, I'm gonna go and look at a bridal magazine from right now. So I went into the store and I flipped through one, and it's different in a way now because the bride centric theme that was in this old magazine is no longer there. It was still like, I would say like 60 to 70% like about the bride, like ads for dresses, articles about like the bride and her planning and all of that. But now there's things about like bridesmaids dresses, bridesmaids proposal boxes. It was all, now what are you going to do for other people and how are you going to incorporate all these other things into your wedding? And I just thought that was really interesting. And it was so random that I found this magazine. Like I was not looking for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. I just felt like unrelated, but
No,
I
I
just
love
felt like it
that.
was
But
interesting.
it's true. Like when did it become about everybody else? The bridesmaids proposals, like it's a lot. Like it really is. I mean, listen, like I said, I am and have been a bridesmaid. So yes, I've been on the receiving end of those things, and that's great. More power to you if that's what you want to do. It's never been my thing. Like at the end of the day, like I'm sorry, it's my wedding. You know what I mean? Like this is the one day probably in my entire life where like I just want the day to be about us. Like I just want the day to be about me and him. Like we are not the type of people who ever, like, we don't have like elaborate birthday parties. We don't celebrate every little thing. We didn't even have an engagement party, like the day after we got engaged, his parents had like our families over just like to have some like cake and like celebrate. Like it wasn't an engagement party. It was like at the house, like everyone just the next day came over, so like we're not the type of like people who are like the center of attention and always like throwing parties and always having people come over and celebrate us, like at all. So like, and then once you have kids, like really your life honestly truly becomes about them. And so it's like this is the one time one day really that will ever just be about us. Like let it just be about us. I mean, I gave my cousins that when I, had them be when I had asked them, I guess, if you will, to be the matron and maid of honor, I had just like pajamas made for them, custom. A brand actually sent them to me. It's called Homebody. So they had reached out and asked, like, if I wanted pajamas, if I needed pajamas for anybody else. So I was like, sure, like, here we go. So they gave me a pair of pajamas for the two of them to get ready in for the day, for that morning. And that's all I gave them, just the pajamas. And so I had posted a video saying, like, oh, here, like, wrap these pajamas with me, like on TikTok. And somebody commented and they were like, that's it? That's all you're giving them? So I was like, what do you mean that's it? I don't have to give a gift at all. I could just simply say face to face, will you be my maid of honor? Will you be my matron of honor? I don't have to give a gift just to act. You know what I mean? So, I was like, what the heck? I gave him these pajamas and that's the comment. That's it. Like, people are just so like the overconsumption of like so many things. Like, the consumerism is just like, we don't need that many things. Like, sure, maybe I'll get them a pair of slippers to go with it too, so they can have something to wear on their feet. But like, this isn't even me being cheap. This is me being realistic. Like, I just don't think it's all necessary. At least I could speak from the perspective of it would not be necessary for me. I would never be like, you didn't give me more. Like, I just wouldn't like, but yeah, it's become very other centric as well. And like, it really should just be bride and groom centric at the end of the day.
I'm actually, the earrings I'm wearing are from a bridesmaid's proposal box that my friend gave me. Totally coincidental too, but I I
At
agree.
least you
I
got
mean,
use out of them, because a lot of people give crap. I watch these videos
yeah.
and I'm like, I'd rather you give me nothing than give me a box of all this shit. Like, where'd you get this from? CVS? Like, I don't even bother. Like, I don't want crap. I don't need crap in my house. I don't need crap in my closet. I don't need crap in my drawers. Like, let's call a spade a spade. You guys are giving crap. Like, stop with the crap. Okay, I'm going to say it 500 times. So I'd rather give people something that they're going to use, that they're going to wear, like your beautiful earrings, and call it a day.
But it's the consumerism, it's the overconsumption, it's the capitalism. Because the more, I sound like a wackadoodle when I say this, but I actually am like, I'm seeing this from the outside, right? Because I'm not the bride, but I'm close enough to the bride that I'm privy to a lot of this information.
Right.
But it just seems like everybody gets married, or like 98% of people get married. And so this is an event that every single person, two people, right, the couple has to go through. And so there's a cultural element to it, because I feel like
Yeah.
every culture has their own like wedding traditions and all of that. But I feel like it's become so hyper capitalized because it's something everyone goes through. And also things like having kids, with which I think most people go through, again, like that's also capitalized, like baby showers and like all these parties.
The
And
gender reveal parties. I don't even want to know my kid's gender. People are having $30,000 parties to find out if it's a boy or a girl. And like, again, whatever. I'm not even saying this in a way of like judging, because I truly think everyone has their own perspectives on life. So it's like, whatever you want to do it. From my perspective, I think it's outrageous. I think it's crazy. I either A, don't even want to find out what the gender is, so no party at all, or B, if I do find out, I would honestly keep it between me and my husband. Like, I wouldn't even tell anybody, and I would just only us know, because maybe if like if it's hard for me to go 10 months without knowing, like, I might just tell the doctor, tell me. You know what I mean? Like, I just
yeah.
want to know. But like, I would, oh, that's how I would find out. Like, I wouldn't put it in a rocket and shoot it up into the sky. I would just be like, all right, doc, what's the deal?
My parents' gender reveal for me was when my mom gave birth and they found out I was a girl.
Exactly.
So
Same
yeah.
for my family.
I think everything is just so, they just think like, how can we make money off of this and capitalize off of things that everybody has to experience. So yeah. Speaking of capitalism, I also want to talk a little bit about patriarchy. So I think that I did a lot of research preparing for this episode, because I learned a lot about the history of so many traditions, and like wedding traditions, bridal traditions. The question I asked you at the beginning of the episode about the groom seeing the bride before the wedding, I researched that. That's actually a superstition. Not even a superstition. This was a practice based on arranged marriages, and they didn't want the groom to see the bride in case he got cold feet because she was unattractive. So it's based in a very misogynistic.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah. But
did
people
not
don't
know
think
that.
that. No,
Yeah,
people just
yeah.
think it's a superstition, right? They're not like they don't think along those lines. But a lot of these traditions and superstitions are actually rooted in very misogynistic practices, which I thought was interesting. But obviously, like a lot of people still observe that. They don't think of it as a misogynistic practice. And like no judgment. The girlies are not here to judge
Yeah,
because
and
it's
I didn't
your
know that. So like I know that people are not thinking that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just kind of something you think you should do or you want to
Yeah.
do. But like the father walking the bride down the aisle, like that's like symbolizing you're transferring the ownership of your daughter from the father to the groom. Or like the bouquet toss is, competition among women to um over men, or the garter toss, which I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of people do. I've seen a lot of TikToks about how people say that's like something that they're never gonna
It's
do.
a little
Um
inappropriate.
it's very inappropriate, and that
Yeah.
sexualizes the bride. I'm like, that's kind
Yeah.
of weird. I don't want my parents to see that. That's
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah.
um what else? The bride changing her, or the wife changing her last name, like that's
Right.
absorption of her like identity into her husband's identity, things like that. But obviously people do that because that's just their choice, right? Are there any of these like traditions that have those roots that you are practicing? And if you do, like what do those mean to you now?
My father is definitely walking me down the aisle. Like that would never even be a thought. I can understand, sure, whatever the history was a million years ago, it may have symbolized ownership. But to me, it's like I've been raised with, and I'm lucky to be now almost married to, um, masculine men who protect their women and take care of their women. So it's not so much ownership, because I've never been raised in a way where like abide by the man. Like it just
Hmm.
like that's never been our dynamic. But we've always been taken care of by the men. So if anything, it's a more positive, than negative thing. So like I watched my dad take care of my mom and me, my brother, like our family. I watched my grandfathers do it for them, and my future husband will be doing that for me and my kids. So if anything, I see it as more of like I took care of her, now you get to take care of her. So like it's kind of the same thing, but not an ownership. You know what I mean? Like it's actually way more about raising us rather than raising them. It doesn't come off to me as a symbol of um patriarchy, where it's like this is a man to man thing where it's like she was mine, now she's yours. It's more of like I took amazing care of her, so now you need to take even better care of her. So, if anything, I feel like the special one in that transaction there. It's like
Yeah.
I'm the one who's just being protected and provided for either way. So, however y'all want to spin it, fine. But for me, all I know is that I'm going from having the care of one masculine man to another masculine man. The bouquet toss and garter toss we will not be doing, but funny enough, we actually did in another wedding. Like okay, his cousins that got married, I won the not one, I caught the bouquet. So then they did like the garter toss for the guys. So like they had him, catch it because I won the bouquet. So not, I keep saying won. I caught the bouquet. So then when they did the garter toss, he's like, I'm not gonna let any other guy catch the garter because he had to like put it on my leg. So then he caught the garter, and then in the wedding in front of 100 people, he like put it up my leg. It was hilarious. I posted it on TikTok. It's from a while ago, but it was actually it was cute. It wasn't like gross and whatever.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna do that at our wedding. I don't want to do that, and we don't have like the guests for that. Like I said, all of his friends are married. Like it's just not no. So we're not gonna be doing that. I will be taking his last name, which I always like anticipated. I can understand women who are teachers and doctors and like who earn these very like prestigious um degrees and certain things that like there is under their last name. And also just like I have friends who are nurses and teachers who honestly aren't changing their last name just because it's a pain in the ass because you're already in the system with this name and then like everything. So they're just like, it is what it is. Maybe they will socially change their last name and just like say it on Instagram, but like legally, they're always gonna just stick to that. And yes, I could again, if you're a doctor, my last name's Alario. So if I became this super credible, successful doctor under Alario, I'm not going to change my last name to my husband's last name. However, that's not the case for me. And I was raised in a family where it was an honor, to take your husband's last name. I mean, I wouldn't be Victoria Alario if my mom didn't take my dad's last name. I like it's like the entire trajectory of my life. Like I've always been Victoria Alario because that's my dad's last name. The way I'm raised, we have serious utmost respect for our fathers. So like I'm very thankful that my mother has my father's last name because that means that I do. So and the other thing is too, it's like for me, then I'm gonna have kids one day, and my kids are gonna have their father's last name. So say that I wanted to put my foot down, and I'm like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I'm not going to take my husband's last name. Then I have a different last name for my children. I don't want that, So like, I want my family to have a family name, the entire last name. And yes, fortunately for us, unfortunately for maybe others who believe differently, like the men don't take the woman's last name because someone could argue you could have a family name. He could take your last name. I don't want him to. He's not going to take my dad's last name. Like he's a man, so like I'm going to take his. Whatever the case is, it's my feeling of like I don't feel oppressed by doing it. Like I feel honored to be doing it. So yeah, of course, there's always this patriarchal thing behind it that if you really did the research and you find what it's rooted in, sure, it could be negative. It's ownership, it's this, it's that. But as time has evolved and as people are not absolutely horrible the way that they used to be, like we have different feelings and meanings behind these traditions. So I think I covered all of yours. But yeah.
No, I wanted to get your thoughts on it because it symbolizes something different to everyone. Like
Uh-huh.
just because it's rooted in one thing, it doesn't mean that's how we're interpreting it. And
Right.
I thought that was interesting because a lot of my content is about like the stereotypes and the expectations or the ways that women are underestimated, the things that are placed on women that we're aware of, and then we can flip the script and take
Right.
control over that narrative and flip it on its head. So I think that's really interesting. I think a lot of it is rooted in also culture and upbringing and also being around masculine, respectable men, because that resonates with me too. Like my dad is exactly how you're describing your dad. Like I'm very fortunate to have a dad like
Right.
that. And so, I mean, in my culture, I'm Persian. So Persian weddings, they don't have a aisle. Like it's kind of a different ceremony altogether. But what you said just symbolized something really sweet to me. It's like I protected her for her whole life, and now it's your turn to protect her and do a better job than I did. So I think
Right.
that's, like flipping that patriarchal root on its head and also symbolizing something very powerful for you. So I think that's really cute.
It's like, if anything, I'm the one who's winning something here. I never have
Yeah.
to worry because I'm always going to be taken care of. So I mean, I'm here for it. But I also know like people go into this having, let's say, daddy issues, or maybe they didn't have a dad, or maybe they had a bad relationship with their dad. Like, so sometimes people go into this already with a preconceived negative, like of just like, my dad did this, so that I wouldn't want, everyone has a completely different upbringing and culture. So like, you could ask this exact question to 50 people, you will have 50 different answers.
Yeah, 100%. And like I always say this, rules are made up. Like life has no rules. You can make your own
Yeah.
rules and do whatever you want. It's your wedding, it's your world. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you my last question, which is I asked this from all my guests, and I feel like now it's on topic based on what we're talking about. What is your patriarchy hack?
Okay, this is a tough one because another thing that I've quite literally never thought about. I would say it kind of, I don't know if this will, you tell me if I don't answer this correctly, you tell me because I might go on a little bit of a tangent because I was just having this conversation with my girlfriend yesterday because she went out with a guy and then she was kind of beating herself up over how she acted because like she didn't hear from him after. So then of course she goes home and she's overthinking. Did I say too much? Did I do too much? Did I do this? Did I do that? And my answer to her, which might be a patriarchy hack here, is just like stop putting them on the pedestal and you start being so unapologetically yourself that like you just wait until a guy who finds all those crazy things about you endearing falls in love with you and says, okay, this is the woman that I want to be with. Like for me, it's like, you don't think about being less or more for them. You be 100% you, no matter how big you are, no matter how small you are, no matter how much you talk, no matter how little you talk, no matter how outgoing or how shy you are. You just be that entirely. And then like any guy that like doesn't text you back after that because like your personality wasn't for him or whatever the case is, it's like, okay, that doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. That doesn't mean that you need to overthink. That doesn't mean that you need to over explain. That doesn't mean you need to now text him and reach out. All that means is like, okay, so he's not the guy for me, you know? So now I have to continue to be this, continue to show up as this, as my unapologetic self, my authentic self. And and I'm on the pedestal. He's not on the pedestal because it's not about him liking me. It's about us being the right fit for each other. So then the more that you are you, yourself, once you meet, you know, someone who says, wow, I love everything about this woman, and then hopefully you reciprocate and also feel that same way toward him, that's when, you know, you find your guy. So I feel like my hack is more like a dating hack, and it's just like, stop making the date and making like your perception of yourself as this woman and single woman based on their, you know, if they like you, and more on just like if you guys are even right for each other. You have to be so yourself that it's like, I'm actually willing to scare every single guy away until one guy is like, I can't be scared away. Like, I love this about you. I always was someone who on dates would like overshare and overtalk. I mean, that's just who I am. You're listening to this podcast. You hear I have a novel for every question. Like somebody else could answer the question in one sentence. I can't. I'm a full circle speaker. So like that's always how I was. Then I met my now fiance. And back then, like sometimes there would be times where I would go home and I'm like, Jesus, maybe I drank a little too much because I feel like I talked that guy's head off. And then I met my fiance. You know, we started dating. Of course, after a few weeks, I say, so what'd you like about me? What on the first date made you like me and made you want to see me again? I mean, like, you know, every girl does that once you like actually get a boyfriend. You're like, so why me? Why'd you pick me? And he said to me, I loved from the first date, like how talkative you were. I felt like I could talk to you about anything. It made you feel really down to earth because like a lot of people don't just open up like that. They are not just vulnerable like that. So like the things that like make, you know, one girl say, damn, I said too much, has another guy who says, that's what I loved about you. So I don't fully know if that's like a patriarchy hack or if that's just like a dating hack, but I feel like the moral of the story is to stop putting guys on this fucking pedestal that they don't deserve to be on, because this is a stranger who doesn't know you and you don't know him, and who fucking cares? Like there's a million other guys out there and he's not your guy, clearly.
The thing is, I'm already on the pedestal and there can only be one person there.
There's
so
only room for one of us on this pedestal.
Literally. I love that. There's no right or wrong answer to this. I always love hearing what people say. So this is helpful. I feel like someone's going to listen to this and it's going to resonate with them because they probably just went on a date with a guy and are thinking the exact same thing. So I love that. I loved this conversation. I'm so happy you joined us. Victoria, thank you for sharing your bridal journey with all of us.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.